Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be with you. I'm Charlie McGee, joined by Blair Nickel and Mark Johnson. Today, we're talking about franchise ownership for investors. So what does that mean? Well, I would say one of the most common requests that I have gotten over the years, and particularly in the last couple of years, are business ownership candidates, franchisee candidates looking for a part-time business, something that is not going to take that much of their time. It may be because they have a full-time job. It may be because they're involved in another business. Everybody has their own story, but what's everyone has in common is recognizing the value of their time. So I'm very excited to have Mark Johnson from Rhino 7 join us today and overview something really innovative and interesting. It's actually not something new, and Mark will tell you why, but it's relatively new in today's franchise landscape. And I think it's something we're going to be hearing a lot more about. I'm Charlie McGee. If we haven't met, great to be with you. I'm a franchisee with FranNet, and I'm a senior franchise broker with IBA, a business brokerage in the Pacific Northwest. I've been a franchise consultant for over 10 years, and great to be with you. I'm joined by my partner and former colleague, former business partner, Blair Nickel, who is also the vice chairman of FranNet, has worked with clients exploring business ownership for over 25 years and focuses on Oregon, Idaho, and Alaska. You're probably familiar with FranNet, but just in case, we are matchmakers. We match prospects with franchisors. We provide education on opportunities in business ownership. We give people choices so they can make informed, confident decisions. FranNet pre-screens the franchisors that we work with, and Blair and I do not sell franchises. We're connecting qualified candidates with business opportunities that are a good fit for them. And let's just say at the outset, business ownership is not for everyone. If it's something that you've always wanted to do and you're not sure that it's for you, then we are the perfect people to connect with. You need to have choices that should be compared and analyzed before making a final decision. You need a safe, efficient, time-tested, process-driven approach to ensure that you do find the right match. And of course, starting a business is scary. And our clients benefit from our experience guidance, helping them through the inevitable fears and concerns that surface when someone's doing their due diligence for a business. And again, our services are provided to our clients at no cost. We work like recruiters. The franchisors pay our placement fees. We do not collect any money from our clients. And the reason that we've been around for such a long time is we are focused on clients first, helping them make good decisions, not pushing any particular franchise or ownership period. We're really here to help you and make sure you're making good decisions. So with an investor franchise model, what we're really talking about is time. And as Miles Davis famously said, time isn't the main thing, it's the only thing. Mark Johnson of Rhino 7, welcome. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can share yours. Great to have you.
Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for having me, and I will see if I can get our technology here. All right, what's that? All right, are we up there now?
Perfect.
Yep, good to go.
Let's hit that slideshow.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Charlie and Blair. I do appreciate the time. Just to give you a quick background on me, I've been in franchising and business ownership for the last 37 years. I actually was the president of a franchise brand for about 20 years. I had ownership and I ended up selling that company about 6 years ago, and actually retired for a couple of years, and then just found I really have enjoyed, I like meeting people and talking to people. And I happen to know Doug Shadle from Rhino 7 very well. And so Doug had asked me about helping out here with this investor model, which I really love. And I think, as you were kind of alluding to, Charlie, it's something that it's not new to franchising per se, but this fully investor model is something that hasn't been offered too much in the services industries. It started really in the hotel industry probably 40 years ago. And, the Marriotts and the Hiltons of the world, what they discovered was they needed big money investors to, buy property and build hotels. The problem was a lot of those same investors didn't actually want to run hotels. They wanted to own the real estate and be that investor, but they didn't want to run the day-to-day operations. And so, smartly enough, what Marriott and Hilton did, they said, all right, let's start these property management companies or management companies that would actually run the hotels on their behalf. And that really helped those companies grow tremendously over the last 40 years. And not that everyone operates in that model, they don't, but a lot of those investors, that's how they operate. They own the property, they own the hotel, but they don't actually run the day-to-day. And so there's really two companies that are involved in, with this investor model. The first is Rhino 7, which is a franchise development company. And so over the last 30 years, Rhino 7 has helped a lot of different franchisors grow. So they do the franchise sales piece, they'll help with the real estate piece, but they don't actually own the 4 brands that I'll mention to you. Those 4 brands are owned by Phoenix Franchise Brands. And the owner of Phoenix Franchise Brands is a gentleman by the name of Greg Long. And Greg's a 40-year franchise veteran. He's run a lot of different big franchise systems over his years, Molly Maid and Rooster's Chicken and a bunch of different ones. And he's done very well over the years, really kind of cut his bones as an operator. But Greg got his original start in the hotel industry 40 years ago. And so he had kind of gotten exposed to the model, and I guess always had in the back of his mind, hey, I think we could do this, but where you don't have to invest 15 million to build a hotel, you can invest 100 or $200,000 or $300,000 and still have this management company come in and run it on your behalf. So as you had mentioned, Charlie, it's a perfect thing for that busy, maybe they're already a business owner, maybe they've got a great corporate job, they don't want to leave, but they can't really run something semi-absentee where they're doing 15, 20 hours a week. They're hiring the teams, they're overseeing the teams. So they really want someone that's going to do this for them. And so the model is really kind of exploded. So about 3 years ago, Greg started to acquire some different franchise brands. And all of these brands, ironically enough, have been around a long time. A lot of them 17, 16, 10, 8 years. So it's not that they're new brands, but when Greg acquired them, they were just in those, hey, we want to start franchising. Greg has taken them over and has really helped them grow quite a bit, with Rhino 7 being the help from the development side. So that's kind of the little bit of the history behind. But what I'll dive in originally, or firstly, about this absentee model and how it works. So I tell everyone, think about it like it's a corporate location, a corporate run location, but the franchisee actually owns it. So they're going to do everything from find the location. They're going to help negotiate the lease. Now, ultimately, the franchisee or the investor is the person that signs the lease and goes into that. But then they're also going to interview and hire all the staff with the owner's approval, of course, because they are actually the franchisee's employees. But then most importantly, they're going to run the business day to day. So they're actually overseeing it. They're doing the sales, they're doing the billing, they're doing the collecting money from the customers, they're managing the teams. So they're running the day-to-day operation on behalf of the investor. The only thing or the minimum that they're asking of that investor is actually 2 hours a month. of their dedicated time. And how that really breaks out is they want to do a 1 hour Zoom call every 2 weeks with that franchisee investor. And what they're really covering there, it's kind of like a CEO meeting or a board meeting. They're covering, hey, here's what's happened the last 2 weeks. Here's what we're looking and projecting the next 2 weeks. Let's go over the key performance indicators, the marketing, the sales, obviously any staff evaluations, maybe even changes they're going to go through. And the investor or the franchisee has full control. So they can say, yep, get rid of that person, hire someone else. They could actually say, fire the whole team. I'm not sure I'd recommend that, but they do have full control of the business. They can sell the business at any time. The other thing I like to mention about this is what Greg has done is he's built a really good back-end machine, and they're based out of Detroit, Michigan. But so everything from websites, social media, obviously the software systems to run it, but you'll notice here they've got a call center for all the brands. They've got all of the back-end machine that's been built to operate all of these brands. So Greg is using those economies of scale. He's putting together, he's got about 350 employees now up in that Detroit office, and growing very, very quickly. So they don't charge any upfront fee for the service. What they're doing is they're charging a 5% fee, and it is based on gross revenue. So they're getting a percentage. So they do have an incentive to grow the business large and to make it a large profitable business for you. And what the management contract runs concurrent with the franchise agreement, which is a 10-year agreement. Upon renewal, if the franchise investor said, hey, I want to move in and run it full time, they can do that, but they can't do that prior to that. So what I usually say to people is, look, if you've got the business is going great, you're 5 years into it, and you want to be more active in a day-to-day, well, either purchase another one, do something else to grow it until that 10-year term's up. And they do that for an obvious reason, which is they don't make any money. It costs a lot to be able to set this up. The management company, the hiring, the managing. So where Greg's making his money is in years 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. They don't make any money up front. So they need that 10-year management agreement to run concurrent with the franchise agreement for them to make money. So Greg has literally invested millions and millions of dollars in setting up this structure, the teams, so that they can operate these business on your behalf. And it really is the perfect fit for that busy person that says, I don't have the time. I don't want to run the day-to-day. I don't want to worry about the employees. I want someone else to run it for me, and be able to diversify their portfolio. The one nice part is, the stock market's one thing, that's up and down. You can invest in real estate, and I recommend you do all those things. But I think business ownership is a great way to diversify your portfolio. And if you don't have the time, I just think this is an outstanding way to actually achieve that. Now, there's 4 different brands that they offer the fully passive or fully investor model with. And you'll notice on the top of these, they all can be run semi-absentee or owner-operator. So any of these brands can be run day-to-day, but they are all offered in this franchise investor model. One thing I do want to mention, Fetch, which I'll talk about first, they sell that in a single territory. So you can buy one territory, or you can buy multiple territories if you'd like. But the last 3 brands that I'll talk about, they're all sold in what we call an area developer model. So what they've done, Greg has said, I don't want 10 franchisees in the Dallas metro area. I want one. I want one person who's going to develop the whole market. And that's a great thing because, you really are able to build a gigantic business in certain markets. But for some people to buy all of Dallas might be a lot of their investment range. And they may say, hey, I don't want to buy Dallas, but Mark, for instance, I live in Tyler, Texas. It's just 2 hours east of Dallas. Well, that's a 2-territory area. So that might be more attractive for someone saying, I don't want to spend $400,000 to buy all of Dallas, but I certainly want a 2-territory area. So what's actually happened because of that is 2 things. One, we've got a whole bunch of our investors that have bought businesses outside of where they live, in a different state. We've even got people that have said, hey, I live in the Northeast. I want to go to Florida 6 times a year. So they're actually buying a business in Florida, kind of using it as a as a write-off, a travel expense to go back and forth. And because of this fully managed model, it doesn't need to be in your backyard. So it really opens up a very different thing. Like I've been in franchising a long time, and it was always the business has got to be in my backyard. But this kind of opens up a whole nother world. And the other thing is, maybe you live in an area that could be quite expensive to purchase because, hey, we only want one in all of Detroit. So maybe you're looking in Kalamazoo, Michigan, or somewhere else. So, it opens up a lot of different marketplaces. And, as people get into these models and say, hey, I really like this one, obviously, as they're working with those particular brands and doing all the validation, they'll be talking about, all right, what type of investment level are you comfortable with? And also talking about different markets that are available at the level that they're looking at based on those particular brands. So I wanted to cover that area this because the next three brands that I'll briefly highlight are all sold only in that area development. So Fetch is actually the first of the brands. This actually is a 17-year-old company, been around a long time. Greg bought them about 2.5 years ago. One of the nice parts about this particular brand is it's a pretty low cost investment. It's home based. It's about $120,000 all in for a single territory. So for someone that says, hey, I kind of want to dip my toe in the investor model, it's a good low cost way to actually do that. Really good revenues, again, strong item 19. There's about 150 franchisees out there. So again, a lot of good validation and people to speak to, as they go through the processes, if this is something. But, this one, as you can see on the screen, it's private dog walking, pet sitting, really popular for those people that say, hey, I want to go away for the weekend, but I don't want to, put my dog in a kennel. I want someone to come to my home and sit and do that. So they've got some great technologies with, the apps and things where the customers can schedule the dog walker to come at certain times. So a really neat model, and it's gone very, very well. The second model is also in the pet space. Greg is a big pet guy. So this one's called Furryland Mobile Pet Grooming. And so it's kind of what the name indicates. It's mobile pet grooming for, dogs, cats, but they also do, bathing, de-shedding treatments, and nail trimming, things of that nature. This whole portion of the pet industry has exploded really in the last 10 years. So what they've done is, as you can see the pictures, they've outfitted really nice vans, Mercedes, Ford vans, and they're actually bringing the service right to someone's driveway or pulling into an apartment building in the parking lot and able to service those customers. It's all a temperature controlled environment. It's all cage free, which a lot of people really like, as opposed to taking their dog to PetSmart, and it's kind of a crazy atmosphere and things of that nature. So it's grown really quickly. And I tell people, look, in your area, call around if you find these services, and I guarantee you it's going to be 2-3 months before they can get to come to serve you. It's that there's that type of demand for the business. So it's growing very, very quickly right now. It's also, from an investment standpoint, not bad, about 165,000 all in for a single market territory. A strong, item 9 in the FTD shows, over 260,000 in net income. So, and again, very robust technologies that they've got behind this one. I always do like to mention here, we've got an owner in Las Vegas, and when they bought Las Vegas was considered a 5 territory or a 5 van area. This owner has actually already developed it into 12 vans right now. And if you talk to them, they'll tell you, hey, I'm going to have more than 20, before I'm done and said. So even though a market might be classified as a 2 territory or 3 territory market, doesn't mean you can't grow it larger, whether it's more vans in this particular model or bigger in any of the brands. And you don't pay any additional fees for that. Obviously you pay as you add new vehicles and things, but when you get into a market, if that market explodes, that's great. It's your market that you own and that you can develop, for the, as long as you have that business. So very, very strong model. The last 2 ones are more in the home services business. Oh, kind of flipped too fast there. So the first one, I kind of love this model. It's a very, niche or niche market. It's called Door Renew. And what they're doing, this was actually founded about 10 years ago, and it was a couple of contractors. They did a ton of home renovations, and they just always ran into difficulty when they had to redo a door. They were doing a bunch of stuff. The homeowner didn't want to pay the big money to redo a front door or a back door or even interior doors. And so what they decided to do is they said, look, if we see a gap in the market, they bought all the right equipment, rented a warehouse, and said, we're going to market this thing not only to homeowners, but I think even more importantly to the other contractors. We're going to say, look, when you need doors done, we're your specialists. We'll take the door off, we'll sand it, we'll strip it, we'll stain it, we'll seal it. They use the same sealants they use on wood boats in the ocean. And so they literally, for a fraction of the cost, can make the front door look like new, and even a lot of times better than new, because of now that it's sealed and done the right way. So they did it, and the business just absolutely exploded for them. And they had decided they wanted to start franchising about 3 years ago. And then Greg actually acquired them, loved the model. It's been growing really, really quickly. There's about 30 area developers that have been sold, about 20 that are, open and operating right now. Again, not a real heavy investment, about 165,000 for all in for a single territory. This one is location based, so you do need about a 2,000 square foot warehouse with this model. But again, in the fully managed model, the management team will help find the location, negotiate the lease, and do all those things with you. Again, great, very, very limited competition, which is I like. It's a very niche type business. Again, real strong numbers in this one. From the FTD showing real high margins and real good profitability. So really, I love this one. One of the things I do like to mention with this, Rhino 7 actually is the franchisee. So they bought the Raleigh-Durham market for this particular brand. So they love it. They've been operating in a year. It's done great. In fact, I was up in their area. They took me by it. It's a really cool facility, and it's really neat. But I just think it says a lot that the development company actually bought this one and is operating it. And then the last of the four that Greg owns right now is called Spray Foam Genie. And this is, obviously it's spray foam for, crawl spaces and, walls and attics and things of that nature. This one's really exploded. The company's been around a long time, been around for about 16 years. It was actually founded by a couple brothers in the Alabama area. And what they did is they created these large rigs that actually heat and convert all the spray foam. They've got multiple hoses that come out, so they can actually have multiple employees working on a house at the same time, so they can do things very, very quickly. This one's, again, you do need a warehouse, a couple thousand square foot warehouse space. This one's the most expensive of any, but it's about 275,000 all in for a single territory. But the item 19 is showing some tremendous returns, as you can see there, about $500,000 net income. So this one's growing very, very quickly. We've sold about 40 area developers in the last 5 months. So it's growing. There's about 20 of those that are open now and operating, but it's growing very, very quickly. One of the other things I do like to mention with this one, they've partnered up with a company called Rhino Linings. No relation to Rhino 7, but Rhino Linings is kind of famous for truck bed linings, but they're a $1 billion foam chemical company. And so they're the exclusive distributor of the product, but they're kind of taking advantage of Rhino's R&D. So they've actually got a new concrete lifting and leveling product that they're offering as well with this brand. So it's really nice. They've got, again, same call centers and things like that. They have one additional thing, which I really like. There is a national commercial sales team in this model. So they're helping to bid on all large commercial projects and are getting quite a few for the franchisees across the country. So they've got that team set up as well. So a really nice model, growing very, very quickly. So those are the four brands that they offer. I know Greg has a fifth that's going to come on board in a couple of months this summer, but it's really done well. Really good, endorsement from the franchisees in the system. And, I think if anyone has interest in it, they'll really, like what they see as they go through that education process.
Mark, we really appreciate that terrific overview of the four brands and the franchise investor absentee model in general.
Right.
Any final thoughts?
No, absolutely. So what I do, again, as anyone, any of the candidates come in, I do kind of with them what I just did with you guys, which is I'll give them that high level overview, talk a little bit about the investor, talk about the 4 brands, and then certainly, if there's 1 or 2 or any of them that have a further interest, I have those franchise development directors reach out directly. So I'm kind of the bridge. So it's been great. I get to talk to folks and educate them a little bit and see if there is, one of the brands that rises to the top.
Well, we sure appreciate that. Thank you very much.
No, thank you guys.
So there we go. And Blair, here we go.
There we go. Thanks,
Blair's going to set us up for, if you're just getting started, things to consider.
You got it. And so we'll wrap us up here. So one of the things that Rhino 7 and their brands, and really any franchisor that we work with, as Charlie mentioned earlier, we're the matchmakers, right? So our clients come to us hoping that we can match them up with the right franchise based on who they are, their goals, their skill sets, background, personality, financials, you name it. And so the franchisors ask us to also pre-qualify the candidates prior to having our clients look at their brands as well. So we have an assessment tool that Charlie and I can send to you, which is a proprietary assessment tool that'll help you learn see if franchising is even a good business model for you, and business ownership, but it'll also tell us the styles and types of franchises that are going to be a good fit for you. Charlie and I will get the link to the assessment tool to you here today if you want it, or if you've already taken it, Charlie and I will have a copy of it and we're good to go. But if you haven't taken it, only takes about 15-20 minutes to do. We'll get the results, we'll share the results with you, and then Charlie and I will be able to meet with you one-on-one. We also have many other assets that we can share with you. One is called the Roadmap to Success, which is a guidebook on how to properly research franchises. And keep in mind, as you are researching these franchises and working with the Mark Johnsons of the world, Charlie and I are going to be holding your hand, guiding you along the way. So you know exactly what you should be doing, the questions you should be asking. Are there other professional resources that you need help with so that you can make a good, safe, wise decision? So there's Charlie and I's contact information. So if you have your phone handy, feel free to use the QR code. So if you are in Washington or in the United States or are working with Charlie already, use his contact information there. If you're in Oregon, Idaho, or Alaska, feel free to use my contact information. And Charlie and I are here to help. Also, feel free to just call us. That's the easy way too. And Charlie and I can decide which is going to be the best path for you. But you saw a very rare model within franchising, which is the investor model. It's very, very cool. I can't tell you how many clients come to me and say, I just want to diversify my portfolio. I don't want to run the thing. And so there's the investor model. As you saw, there's some pretty cool businesses out there that you can do it with. So thank you, Mark. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
I think there is one question that I'll look at real quick. Oh, thank you, Roxanne. Appreciate it. So, all right, everybody. Charlie, is that it for the slides?
That's it, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a great day. We'll be in touch.
You got it. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.